Hey everyone, and welcome to the Inferno Cast, a family and friends and you podcast about video games. This is episode number 73. And again, we're going to open this up right away to a question for the audience. What game or games do you want to see for the Switch 2? Sound off in the comments section below. Also, make sure that you keep an eye out, set your calendars for Simbu Darkfang on his Sunday evening streaming that occurs at 7 p.m. Central for WWE 2K24 at the Scurryface channel on Twitch. Again, Scurryface channel on Twitch. Make sure you sign up, subscribe, and get ready for that. Again, we're going to forego the introductions. You know them, you love them. They are the Inferno cast, but we're going to ask them, and we're going to ask Simbu, what are you currently playing right now, Simbu?
Oh, well, I mean, I do have a bit of a myriad of stuff. I have just completed Deliver Us the Moon. I started playing Deliver Us Mars, but I don't, I can't keep going with it. Deliver Us the Moon was really fun. It was a good puzzle game. Deliver Us Mars, it's trying to do too much story, too much touch, like super feely, like backstory. It's like why it doesn't fully develop fast enough. Um, so it's just kind of like it just kind of lost me. I am playing Assassin's Creed Mirage. Picked that up on sale for $20. Finally, as we seen as you guys saw in the offline chat, I have completed the mainline game collection for physicals on Assassin's Creed, picking up Assassin's Creed Valhalla for the PS4 today, brand new copy for $10. I already owned it digitally, but it's nice to look up there now and see them all. Of course, this does not include the Assassin's Creed Chronicles physical because those were like side story games. Maybe eventually, if I find it for like $5 at like GameStop, maybe I'll pick it up just to throw it in there. Other than that, not much. I tried Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, it's okay. Not really my kind of thing. But other than that, tried a few different games. Kind of glad I have the PlayStation Plus Extra temporarily, at least temporarily. Um, so yeah, that's
Nice.
kind of all I'm really doing.
Yeah, really glad that you got your physical Assassin's Creed fix and everything. I saw on the offline chat, I saw that you mentioned none of the PSP games. I know there's like one PSP game that's physical. I think, what is that, Assassin's Creed Origins or something? Um,
There's Liberation and two others, but those come in the new. Now they've released a physical PS4 copy of the three like alternate games.
oh, there you
Um,
go.
and it's like that's called Assassin's Creed Chronicles, and that goes to like I believe it's China, Russia, and somewhere else. I know there's three of them.
Nice. So if you ended up picking that up, then no, wait, you said you have all the physicals, so you would have Assassin's Creed Chronicles then.
No,
Oh, so you
I
don't have
so
all the physicals. So you lied to us. No.
because Chronicles, the three games set in for Chronicles are not mainline story.
Does it have Assassin's Creed in the title?
It does,
So
but
you don't
it's
have all
not
the
mainline
Assassin's Creed
story.
games. So what I'm hearing is I should be paying your salary in Assassin's Creed Chronicles.
Hey, that's up to you. I will welcome it. It will sit up on the shelf with the rest of them.
Nice. Nice gift idea for Simbu. I'm gonna remember that. Um, Storm, what are you currently playing right now?
A little bit of The Sims, and then also that game that's not Artemis. Why do I want to call you Astrimedes? I keep renaming you. The game that he would have gifted me, the Death and Taxes, I bought for the Nintendo Switch. So I've been playing that a little bit on and off. It takes a little bit out of you because there are some cases that are easy to judge, like who's gonna die, and then there are some that's like, damn. how do I make this decision? So it's a little not heavy of a game, but it's heavy in that way. So, just on and off playing that and my old standby Fortnite. I've recently been doing a lot more reading than video game playing. So,
Hmm.
I've read 10 books in the month of January, and I've already got
Nice.
one completed for February and halfway done with another one. So, you know, I'm going through the Percy Jackson, another series of like the Percy Jackson and the Olympians. It's more Greek mythology fighting and trials and quests and stuff. So that's where I'm at with books. But my old standby of Fortnite and The Sims, I just got back into it. It's been a year. I didn't realize how long it had been until I saw my last save was a year on that. So, just poking around on that and Death and Taxes.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. It's funny all the games that we all pick up from each other when we talk about like the games we want to play or various suggestions. So I'm glad to hear that you're playing that. I guess I approve of the books. I mean, books can be fun, I guess. They're not video games, but I guess it's okay to expand your mind beyond what we experience on video games.
If it wasn't, Jamie Owls would have something to say to you as well. So
I was gonna say, no, don't you dare hate.
Yep.
You're beating me, by the way. Wow, I wish I could read that fast.
You know, it, yeah, I'm surprised myself. It will slow down. I will hit a period of where,
Oh
it
no,
slows down, but
no, I think it's good when, you're able to read all those books like that fast in the month of January. Like I think I only read like three.
there you go. I thought I would have lost to you, but it's nice to be in the lead for a little bit for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all have me beat. I only have one, I think, for January. So there you go.
Get
Um,
to it.
Hardikus, what are you currently playing right now?
Um, I am still playing my normal World of Warcraft in this game. Um, it's a slow time right now, but I did get my insane title. So if any of you WoW nerds out there know what that means, you know how big of a loser I am. It's thousands and thousands of killing pirates and stealing lock boxes and all kinds of just it's just a big grind, big grind. Other than that, I haven't really played. Like I've been messing around with a couple of like demos on Steam. None Shall Intrude, where you basically play a dragon, and it's like a card battler type game where you hold off waves of heroes and go throughout the land, and it's an interesting little demo. I might actually pick up the full game because I am having fun with it. The other demo I've been playing was Foundation, which is like it's more of a cozy city builder. There's really no I've only had the demo, but I've heard that there's no combat in the game. It's just you build up your town, focus on trade and villager happiness and things like that. It's a very relaxing and just fun little game so far. Other than that, the only other thing I've put time into is Civ 6 because Civ 7's coming out soon.
My mind, you said the only other, when you said the only other time I put time into, I was expecting you to say your mom or something.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Like,
I don't put anything into my mom. I don't really know where your brain's going there,
of
but
course that's you saying your mom, hence being
It
our
was a self-own by Inferno Fox.
Oh, no, those are cool games. Civ 6, have you eclipsed your time for WoW yet, or do you have like 20
Oh,
days?
that's never gonna happen.
Impossible without a
Yeah, I'd
expanded
have to.
lifespan.
At this point, I would just have to leave my computer on for in Civ 6 for a couple months to catch up to that easily. Well, I shouldn't say a couple months, probably more like a year or so, at least.
See, another opportunity to say, or I could have just left it with your mom. You could have said that. I don't know.
I don't make your mom jokes, especially to you.
Ah, because you know they're true. Astrimedes, let me
No comment.
let, let, let me ask you, Astrimedes, what are you currently playing right now?
Still playing a lot of Darkest Dungeon 2, actually playing more of it because this pretty expansive free DLC just hit this month, I think. Kingdom Mode, it's called. Darkest Dungeon 2, to give a really quick recap, Darkest Dungeon 1 had like a game mode where it was like in the same save file. You kind of, it's sort of an XCOM like you have your sort of group, but they're constantly dying or you shuffle them in or out or whatever, that sort of thing over time. It was more of like a long-term campaign. Darkest Dungeon 2 kind of switched up the formula to be like a run-based roguelike kind of thing. It took essentially what I thought was the best part of Darkest Dungeon done, the part where you're actually going through the dungeon with your party, fighting all the monsters and killing stuff, and kind of like made that the whole game. And a lot of people, though, didn't actually like that. So their creation of this DLC was a very clear response to a lot of vocal members of the Darkest Dungeon community that were kind of clamoring for gameplay that was more like Darkest Dungeon 1. So I've been playing that and I don't mind it. I don't know that like this will be a mode I play a lot of because as I've said before, I actually really liked the changeover from the old very kind of grindy feeling style of Darkest Dungeon 1, which I did enjoy, but eventually sort of bounced off of purely just because of the grind. And then Darkest Dungeon 2, I like that it's kind of run based. So I have, I think it's fairly well made and stuff, but I don't know that I love it. And then they also released their first DLC, which adds it, or actually, no, this isn't their first. They've released a couple, but a new DLC with a new character type, the Abomination, who's like a werewolf kind of character. He's very similar to his Darkest Dungeon 1 incarnation. The mechanics are really fun though. Darkest Dungeon is kind of all about your characters build up stress, and once their stress hits the maximum, they kind of freak out, and all their relationships get worse with each other, and bad stuff happens. So they use that mechanic well for the werewolf character, where when he transforms and he like into the werewolf, he's constantly inducing stress on the rest of his party, and then he is kind of like a weaker form that doesn't do that you can stay in to avoid kind of stressing your party out. So Darkest Dungeon 2, still really like it a lot. It's really cool to see how kind of thoughtful those guys continue to be, even if all the stuff they put out isn't necessarily up my alley. Another game I'll mention that I have played a bit of is Rift Wizard 2. Came out recently this month also. And I had played the first Rift Wizard. I enjoyed it. I eventually stopped playing it because it's sort of like an analysis paralysis, too many decisions about your build kind of thing that was kind of just I don't know. I sort of just I enjoyed it for what it was, and then I was kind of done with it sort of. Rift Wizard 2, it's so similar to the first one that unfortunately I'm sort of having the same reaction to it I think, where it's like this is neat, but like I'm kind of done with this. I've tried to play it a bit more because they did add some interesting stuff that does kind of like mix up the formula. People have kind of mixed opinions on how that works, and the dev does have a lot of almost like aggressive ways to block a certain play style he doesn't want to see. And I don't know, I sort of agree with the decisions and sort of don't, but yeah, kind of mixed feelings overall on Rift Wizard 2 so far.
Interesting.
That's
Yeah,
what I've been playing.
yeah, the idea of the analysis paralysis. I know a number of JRPGs that sort of get into that, and there are people that like to take the time to set up their builds, but there's also a lot of prep that needs to be able to be spent to get the items in the toolkit that you need for said build. And a lot of those games where you need a specific toolkit to do it is I don't know. I'm like they're okay, but
Yeah,
I
I don't even mind like complex like Darkest Dungeon 2, like I could say the same thing about. Like it's very heavy with like the choices you need to make about your build, but I guess the combat on his own is compelling enough in Darkest Dungeon moment to moment to be more interesting to me. I think part of the problem with Rift Wizard is that like for me it almost plays a little more like a puzzle game in some respects than like a pure sort of dungeon crawling roguelike. And I once something feels reduced to like a puzzle, I'm sort of like less interested, which seems really stupid because the other games I play, you could probably kind of reduce them to a puzzle too. But I can't explain it, but like, yeah, I don't know. So I don't mind the complexity itself. I guess just in Rift Wizard, the difference is not compelling enough to keep me interested moment to moment. Like one thing with Darkest Dungeon, super heavy on theme and everything from the music and the sound design and all that. So I guess I could say that Darkest Dungeon keeps me more sort of into it with kind of its aesthetics and stuff also.
No, that's fair. That makes sense. Um, Jamie Owls, how about you? What are you currently playing?
Well, recently I finished Epic Mickey Rebrushed, which I enjoyed very much. I had fun playing the game again after so many years since when it came out on the original Wii. A little bit of The Sims. I started playing the Sonic Generation, the Sonic Generation game.
Sonic Origins Plus.
Origins, yes, thank you. The Sonic Origins game, and then of course, the never-ending Dreamlight Valley. And yeah, I'm just kind of like on Stormrosesky. I've been like reading a lot more books and playing, and I'm taking a break from PlayStation because on February 14th is the release of the uh 4, 5, and 6 of Tomb Raider, so I'll be looking forward to playing in that. So yeah, that's what I'm pretty much playing.
Very cool. Yeah, and I will most likely have the PS5 ready for you to take over because by then
Yeah.
I'm hoping to have Sonic Cross Shadow Generations done. It was cool finally playing through to completion the Sonic Generations part because it's essentially like, hey, we're going to upscale this to 1080p, but we're not going to change anything else. So 3D Sonic part of that is okay. 2D Sonic, he does not feel like 2D Sonic. So and the last two bosses in Sonic Generations are just just awful, awful, awful. The other end of that, of course, is the shadow portion of Sonic Generations, and that's probably the best 3D Sonic that I have played, like full stop. And I've played a few of them, so I'm pretty excited with. Although I just before we started recording, I was playing the Radical Highway level of Shadow Generations, and I'm starting to have doubts on that level. But out of the six levels, if only one of them is kind of a stinker, I'll take it. I don't have the Keanu level. I think you have to pay like $12 to do the Keanu level in Tokyo. I'm not gonna pay that. I'm good. So it's okay. I don't need to have Shadow sound like Keanu. Um, and I'm also a game that's sort of pissing me off that I'm playing is Harvestella. And when I say piss me off, I'm angry at Square Enix for doing such a shitty job marketing this game because the game is absolutely fantastic. Love, love, love the game, but it came out when Square had like five RPGs coming out at the same time, and Square apparently felt that oh hey, we're going to release five RPGs within a 3 month period. Let's do no advertising for them. If we do no advertising, they're going to really sell. So yeah, having a JRPG that's a cross between Xenoblade and Animal Crossing when I don't normally like Animal Crossing with a great story. Yeah, I'm definitely all for that. But let's talk about our main topic, and we're going into the Mythos here. So we're going to be talking mythologies in gaming. And this is from classics like Greek and Roman to Egyptian to even games that have like Christian mythology in them. They are all at play here. If the mythology was based in the human real world and features things that maybe humans have worshipped in the past, we're going to be talking about it. And what I find most interesting is how game devs interpret these mythologies, how one game shows Ares, the god of war, versus another, for example, can be really, really interesting. So I'm going to ask you guys what your favorite games featuring mythologies are and what mythologies do they feature Storm. What are your favorite games featuring myths?
The first one is the Immortals Phoenix Rising, which has the Greek gods in it. And you're basically a mortal that has to go rescue her brother, and in doing so, you're also trying to rescue the gods and put them back in their places and on top of the oh in the Athens Hill or whatever, in Olympus. Thank you, Mount Olympus. There we go. Um, so that one's fun. You get to ride horses and stuff in that and ride deer, so I'm all for that. And I like the dialogue. You're listening to Prometheus telling Zeus what the mortal is doing, and the commentary that those two gods have between each other is great. It's it's a lot of fun. So I do enjoy that one, and so much I finished it on the Switch and then got it on the PlayStation as well. So I have it on both systems. That's how much I enjoy it. My other favorite one is just God of War. I do like those two God of War and then God of War Ragnarok so much so that I'm going to try to go back and play the old God of War PlayStation 1 or series and whatnot, like the old ones to see where Kronos got his start and Kratos, Kronos. Oh my goodness, I work today. I'm sorry. It's been a long day with children, so words are hard. But yes, I would like to to appreciate where they've come from and whatnot and see how their growth has been. So might as well give those a whirl on the PlayStation. But as far as my favorite games with mythology, Immortals Phoenix Rising is as much as I love God of War, I think I like that the Immortals a little bit more than that because it has a little bit more fun than God of War. I mean, God of War is fun, but it's a lot more serious fun, and this is just, comical with little biting commentary and whatnot between the gods, which I enjoy.
Yeah, it kind of sucks though that they had ended up canceling the proposed sequel that they were supposed to make.
I know, and on the play, not on a PlayStation, on the Nintendo Switch version, I got all of the DLCs included, so they have other mythologies that they go into, and there is what was that one? It was a Japanese mythology that I started playing, but I didn't get too far into it because then we moved and blah 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 blah. So I need to go back and visit some of the DLCs for that, but I really wish they would have had a second game. It could have used it. It's so much. It is a lot of fun. It's a kind of open world-ish. I mean, there are quests and things to do, but it gives you some exploring and whatnot. So I wish they would have made a second one, and who knows? Maybe in the future they'll come back to it, but I doubt it. So I don't know. I'll just enjoy what I have and maybe get to that DLC eventually.
Yeah, hopefully. Never say never, I suppose. But Astrimedes, how about you? What are your favorite games featuring mythologies and what myths do they feature?
A couple that kind of came to mind for me are I don't so much play it these days, but I definitely used to play it a lot. The Binding of Isaac features a lot of Christian Judaism kind of direct and sort of indirect references. So like the Binding of Isaac is shares the name of a Christian story where Abraham's told to sacrifice his first son, Isaac, to God. He starts to comply. God sacrifices a lamb in Isaac's stead, praises Abraham for the attempt. I guess in some sects of Christianity and Judaism, Isaac was actually sacrificed, but so similar to that, the story in the game is that Isaac's mother essentially hears a voice from God that Isaac needs to be sacrificed. She kind of locks him in his room and stuff. And then at the end of the game, when you win, a Bible falls on her head and kills her, and Isaac celebrates, whatever. So it's there's kind of like you see in little cinematics in the game, Isaac's mother is like kind of glued to the TV with Christian broadcasts playing and stuff. And there's all this kind of like added story content in cinematics over the course of the expansions that have shown little bits and pieces in a similar, tone along those lines. I think it was kind of interesting as it came out, and a lot of people viewed it as, very very negative towards Christianity and stuff like that. But it's very much a singular developer's vision sort of thing, and that's what I kind of liked about it. So it felt like kind of personal to me that it was. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it felt like that was sort of part of the point to him of like why he cast the story where you play a almost fetus looking, helpless seeming kind of character tossed into this sort of world of monsters with all odds against him. So I thought that was a neat use of sort of higher minded stuff, even if it kind of ruffled some feathers. That's what art's supposed to do. So then another one I played much more recently called The Shadow Over Cyberspace. So this one, sort of a weird inclusion because it uses the Cthulhu mythos, but the reason I thought it fit is because this is more, if you read Lovecraft, there's these elder gods that do have sort of individual personalities and goals. And to me, something feels more like mythology and less like theming if it's like there's a pantheon of these sort of godlike beings that each sort of have their individual motivations and goals. So along those lines, in this game, it essentially takes the gist of some Cthulhu elder god or Cthulhu mythos. So Lovecraft, elder gods. So Nyarlathotep and Azathoth and Hastur, the King in Yellow, Yog-Sothoth and Cthulhu himself are all sort of like it's an alternate history 1999, and a lot of the gameplay is sort of like early web sort of scenarios where you have this sort of 1999 level or older like sort of technology, but it's in an alternate history where there are these things called AMs that are essentially AIs that existed in 1999, and there are sort of these out of control AIs that are these like elder god beings, and it draws a lot of like direct lines to sort of like social commentary about how the internet's changed over the years. And the sort of setup of the game is like you're uniquely positioned with a laptop, a Nomicom laptop, which has been named the Necronomicom, that you use, that is a special dev machine that can interface with these AIs in a way that other non-developer machines can't do. So you got this through eBay. You're sort of a game cracker is the setup. Like you are a whereas seen contributor in this alternate history world, and you're kind of directly dealing with these very like personality heavy, clearly influenced by their Cthulhu inspired elder god story background, and also telling like a really relevant sort of part of the story that the devs want to tell. Like they're very kind of like wear their kind of thoughts on their sleeve with the story. But again, I like it because it takes this like concept of a mythology, particularly a mythology created by a notoriously sort of racist guy, and turns it into a really interesting, weird sort of visual novel story. It's free on Steam also. It's called The Shadow Over Cyberspace. Doesn't hurt to try it, whatever. And I thought it was really interesting. And I've played other games, like pretty much all the other games I could think of with mythology were Greek mythology, Hades, God of War, Age of Mythology. We see Greek mythology kind of all over the place in games I've played.
Nice. Yeah, Shadow over Cyberspace sounds really interesting. And of course, Binding of Isaac, I've heard that's one of like that's one of the more well-known indies, but it's also like a fantastic game. Shockingly, I haven't played it myself. I don't even own it either physically or digitally, so I'm going to have to rectify that soon. Um, but Astrimedes had mentioned there's a lot of games that have the Greek mythos, and he mentioned one of my choices, and that, of course, is Hades. And that particularly very, very, very heavy on the Greek mythos, roguelike, top-down sort of a game, but it's also one of the best of the roguelikes that are action-based and sort of play that way. You play as Zagreus, son of Hades, and I think it's Persephone, and he has to escape the many levels of Hades or of hell itself. It is very, very tough. And what makes it tough, of course, is with it being a roguelike, if you get a good run, you're about hour and a half, 2 hours in, and if you die, you go all the way back to the beginning and do not take anything with you. You got to start from scratch. Yeah, there's a couple little like things that you can sort of switch up, like weapons and whatnot, but you very much, at least I feel, you very much start from scratch at the end. I can say I happily say that I've beaten Hades. I have literally, because the last boss is Hades, and it's like th two or three phases or something like that. I did beat him once, just once. Um, did not like the ending, but I get why it was that for it being a roguelike. And I know you can keep beating it and have certain handicaps and multipliers for like a true ending or something like that. I never got that far. But like it's still such a great game. I will also mention a game or a series that's literally touched on all of humankind mythologies, and that's the Persona series, because Persona, of course, is a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei JRPG series. It features various creatures from a large number of mythologies, and that includes Shintoism, Christianity, Greek, Roman, Norse, Egyptian, and a lot more. And the creatures or personas the protagonists can get, they can be as like low level as like fairies from like Greek mythology to Satan himself, and like archangels like Michael and Raphael and whatnot. So I always thought that was pretty cool. Um, Funny that it's funny in that it's interesting that the Persona games I played, three Reloaded and five Royale. The ultimate persona is almost always Satan or Sataniel or Samael. And it's always like the Hall of the Archangels, no Jesus. And it's funny how like that Jesus tends not to be represented in a lot of this, even in TV shows like Lucifer. You literally got they show God, and there's Lucifer and Michael, no Jesus. So obviously, not obviously. I'm guessing they're basing it on Old Testament, yada yada yada. But yeah, definitely like the Persona series representation. Um, but I'm going to ask Jamie Owls, what are your favorite games featuring mythologies, and what mythologies do they feature?
Uh, so I have to be honest, I really had to sit here and think about like what games did I really sit down and play that involves mythology. And honestly, the only ones I can really think of is, the Tomb Raider games and maybe even Uncharted, but Astrimedes just unlocked a memory of the Call of Cthulhu game that I played a couple years ago, and completely forgotten about that. I don't know why I blocked that out of my memory, but um trying to think like with the Tomb Raider, if I can remember, I don't know if it's based on like real, obviously not real life events, but just trying to think of like the story of like Tomb Raider and the artifacts that Lara Croft goes and finds. But Uncharted though is more of like a historical fiction, so I don't know if he's really considered mythology, but a lot of the artifacts that he finds is kind of considered like maybe a little bit of the folklore, but. Yeah, honestly, this one's kind of tough because I didn't really play a whole lot of games that are based on mythology. Like I never played God of War or Persona. So, yeah, I kind of feel like I'm like out of the loop here.
No, that's
Well,
okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Simbu.
I mean, Jamie, I mean, you can hit so many mythologies and lores just with the Tomb Raider games alone.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, because you look at what was it Rise of Tomb Raider? I believe Rise of Tomb Raider. Like you start off in the like the highest peaks of some mountain, and you go into a tomb, uh, you know, in the desert, like in a desert area afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, Not to mention, I believe it's the Tomb Raider reboot where you're literally chasing after the Chinese, like a Chinese empress
Yeah.
and her artifacts of being able to control like the weather and things like that. Basically, the Song of Storms from like Legend of Zelda. So,
Hmm.
I mean, you can hit so many different mythologies with just Tomb Raider alone, whether
Yeah.
they be historical or fantastical versions of historical things. It still works because
Yeah.
a lot of these empresses and emperors and kings and holy men and things were, you know, fantasized at they could call down, you know, Anubis from, you know, call Anubis up from the underworld to drag somebody's soul with him. You know, they could control the weather. They could call upon the gods to come. So they're you know, even if it's a real person like Tutankhamun, for example, for Egypt, there's still a lot of mythology and mythological lore behind things that
Hmm.
the boy king could do, even though we know that's not real.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then of course, if we were talking movies, we you could mention something like Indiana Jones because that's
Yeah.
a lot of that is based on at least one and three are based on Christian mythology. The second based on I think it's Hindi mythology, and the fourth one
I
is based on total
believe
crap.
uh, second one was either Hindi or Nepalese, somewhere
Now,
in that
Articus,
area.
what about you? What are your favorite games featuring mythologies, and what mythologies do they feature?
Most of mine have actually been touched on, like Age of Mythology, God of War. I didn't play a lot of that Phoenix Rising one, but I did play a little bit of it. Uh, so I'm not going to go over those again. But so two of the ones that for my younger years that I really enjoyed was Sayuki Journey West, which was like a tactical RPG, kind of like the, if I remember correctly, it was like a Final Fantasy Tactics-esque type game. Um, and that followed like a lot of, one of the Buddhist stories, the Chinese stories, Journey West, which, if I recall right, is Goku from DBZ is loosely based on as well.
Yep.
Uh, the other one, and this is going back really far for the original Nintendo. Sayuki was on PS1, by the way. I don't know if they ever released it on anything else. But going back really far to the original Nintendo Entertainment System was Bible Adventures. And I remember playing, and there's like three games in there. There was I think there was David and Goliath. Um, I can't remember the second one, but then there was also Noah's Ark, and Noah's Ark was the one I played the heck out of because I like going around and collecting the animals for the Ark.
Nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's a learning opportunity because you are learning about the wrath of God, for he shall smote his enemies, humanity, with the flood.
I'm just gonna hold my tongue because I don't want us to lose people.
Mm.
Yes, I was saying as soon as I said flood, I was thinking about the Halo flood. That would be a fun way to smote God's enemies if God was what was it, the Forerunners? I'm trying to
The
think of
Four
it.
Horsemen.
Four Horsemen. How, maybe that's where they would have
Forerunners.
gotten it. Yeah, Forerunners, and the Forerunners were the Forerunners to humanity. So there you go. It's further proof that all God is Halo. And speaking of Halo, Simbu, your picks for your favorite games featuring mythologies. These will be good too.
So I'm going to say this. Jamie Alice actually hit me with one hell of a curveball by mentioning Call of Cthulhu. Absolutely set, you know, the 1920, you know, I'm going to go over a little bit over it because she didn't go too much into it, but set in the night, you know, 1920s, you know, you're a private eye, you get called to an island, and then just all hell literally breaks loose, and it ends up at the end, you're basically going through these nightmares and stuff like that, and is, you know, trying to solve this mystery or whatever the hell's going on. And at the end, basically, either the like you have the option to like summon Cthulhu, and just it is a fantastic game. If you have not played it, is on PS4. Pick it up. It is great. But I have three. Okay, one of them is going to be an honorary mention because I'm surprised Fox didn't mention it, and that is going to be Doom, the game series known as Doom, featuring the Christian mythology and lore of hell. Now, Doom takes it to the nth degree by, cybernetically enhancing the demons and, demonic monsters and things like that. But if you were to think about it, it is very plausible that a demon or some kind of that could possess somebody and mutate their body into some genetic cyber freak. If, it's the future and nobody knows. But that one's going to be my honorable mention. My two actual picks are, even though it is the worst of the Dark Pictures series, House of Ashes for the Middle Eastern Vampire. Is a fantastic game set. You will play as American, American FBI, CIA, military people, fall into this cave. You're trying to get back out of it. Obviously, the two of you are, your ex-husband, ex-husband and wife and all that. And it just devolves because then, you go in between, you get flashes of ancient times where they ended up actually summoning these creatures and these blood rituals and things like that. So you get the lore behind the king the king or pharaoh or ruler who created this whole thing in the first place, because it was, two kingdoms warring with each other, and it had, took place on a coronation or celebration day where there's supposed to be a ceasefire, and the other guy's like, you know what, you can go pound sand because this is the perfect time to strike. And just it devolves for it, just goes on from there. And of course, now you are faced with, towards the end of the game, literally fighting for your life against these, Middle Eastern vampiric creatures, from ancient times that are now in modern times because immortalities. But number one, and it's a series of games, and I've talked about, I said it earlier, Assassin's Creed, featuring Egyptian, Greek, a little bit of Roman, and Norse. Now, Middle Eastern with Mirage. Now, they don't feature like the gods themselves and all that, but the fantastic thing that Origins and Odyssey did was a historical tour, in game, where you walk around, you learn about, it's like taking a video game and turning it into a museum, which was a fantastic thing. Not to mention, when you're going through and playing the actual game itself, you're learning, you find these, manuscripts and parchments to read. You can learn, you read, and it talks about like, oh, this pyramid or this symbol was used to Akhmun Ra and things like that and whatnot. So it's a fascinating game series that doesn't directly incorporate mythology, but uses it.
Interesting. Yeah, those are good pick. Those are really good picks, especially the Assassin's Creed. Just how diverse a number of settings that they tend to really explore. I definitely like that as a choice. A perfect choice for you, Simbu. Um, don't like Doom as a choice. I think that's terrible, and you're a terrible person for that. No, that was a good call out because
Mars, not hell.
that's right. That's well,
Well, I could have went with
hell comes
Dante's
to Earth.
Inferno. I could have just said Dante's Inferno and,
Oh yeah, that would have been an
basically
easy
said
one.
what you did.
Ooh,
Basically
that's a good
say
one.
your game, Fox, with Hades. I mean, it's the same game, just different.
Dante's Inferno is the same as Hades?
Yeah, you got to fight.
You're
Instead
wrong
of
again,
fighting out of
Simbu.
hell, instead of fighting out of hell, you're fighting into hell.
Deeper. You're going deeper to
And
hell.
in one you're a god, and one you're a powerless mortal.
That's right. Um, as we move on here, so we mentioned a lot of the games that are favorites or whatnot, but we're going to sort of go into the theoretical and we'll ask what existing game franchise would you like to see explore mythology and with mythology and like which mythology in particular? So do you want to see a 3D Mario game where they go totally ancient Greek and you see Bowser in a toga? Do you want to see Metroid go Egyptian and you see Samus wearing one of those headdresses? I mean, I guess anything goes here. And Hardicus, we'll ask you, what existing game franchise would you like to see explore one of these mythologies?
Um, they kind of already explore a little bit of it, but I would love to see more of the supernatural-esque part of the mythologies explored in games like Uncharted or Tomb Raider.
Mhm.
Like Uncharted, all like where they have like zombies in or something, one of them in, So I think like dealing a little bit more with like a Roman or a Greek mythology, actually, maybe even meeting one of the gods, kind of thing, would be an interesting concept. I don't know how well it would play out with how. I mean, well, really, that they already touched on the supernatural as it is, so it's not like it's a super stretch, really. But yeah, those two, Uncharted, Tomb Raider, I think they would both be really fun to play with.
I mean, they're both basically derived from like Indiana Jones, and Indiana Jones has no problem throwing the supernatural stuff in their otherwise realistic
That's
world.
true.
Yeah, very much true. It would be interesting to see.
Kalima.
Mhm.
Uh, Astrimedes, how about you? What existing game franchise would you like to see explore mythology and which one in particular?
I'd like to see the Battlefield series explore Buddhism by providing a conscientious objector class that aspires to become a bodhisattva.
The hell's wrong with you?
Mhm.
I
The next Call of Duty is gonna have that.
Yeah, that
I'll
would
get
be
Astrimedes to buy it.
that would be the class that nobody would pick until they add Nicki Minaj in there, and everybody then picks Nicki Minaj as that as a troll thing until they find out if you've been playing as the Buddhism class for so long, then you unlock like special enlightened mode, and it's equivalent to being Super Saiyan, and it's like Gandhi in Civ wrecking everything, and everybody gets all pissed.
I'm really hoping Gandhi is still New Cappy in Civ 7.
Oh man. Storm, how about you? What existing game franchise would you like to see explore mythology and which mythology in particular?
I would like to see more Norse or Roman because the Greek mythology and the Greek gods get a lot of recognition. So, um, quite honestly, I'd like to see them in Animal Crossing. Can you imagine the gods having to build their own houses and stuff? Like they're stripped of their powers and they have to depend on villagers, these little stupid animal villagers to help them build, their things back up. It's a possibility. It'd be fun,
The
different.
question though is, would Tom Nook still charge them rent?
No, Zeus would get rid of Tom Nook. Well,
Yeah.
if they don't have their powers, see, and they're like all mortals and have to do certain things to try to get their powers back, then maybe Tom Nook would still have to charge them something, and Tom Nook would be like the Zeus of the island or something for them.
I was gonna say Zeus will become Tom Nook.
Yep, yep. Over time, he will, but until then,
It's too
So
funny.
that would be fun-ish. Or the other thing I would like to see is maybe like with the dark anthology, if they really explored something with, you know, um, with the Norse gods, and if you were a person going through and rid, trying to get out of something with the gods and whatnot. I don't know. But Animal Crossing was I really thought about more than the other one. I'd like to see something with it, but you know, Animal Crossing would be a fun idea.
No, that would be interesting to say the least. That sounds like maybe that could be a good DLC or something, or heck, they just base the whole game on that, and the premises don't piss off the gods of Olympus. They'll strike a lightning bolt and destroy your house, and then you'll have to get a second mortgage from Tom Nook.
Yep, see, that would be horrible.
Simbu, how about you? What existing game franchise would you like to see explore? Mythology, and which mythology in particular?
Hmm. Oh, laddie. There's only one that I can think of. I would love to see more. It's hard to pin down, but and I would like to say this one, but I don't want to take Jamie out something from Jamie Owls, and I don't know how much existing franchises she it would be interested in talking about other than a couple of them. So I'm gonna let her have the one that I could think of. But honestly, I like where Storm's going with the Dark Pictures anthology series. I would love to see them explore more like Celtic mythology, like take us over to Ireland in one of the game, take us to
Mhm.
Ireland, take us to China, how they did with Little Hope, where you were flashing back to the 1800s and the Salem witch trials. Take us over to China and have like an ancestral bleed between one of the characters from feudal China or feudal Japan into a modern setting, or you know for example, you got game, for a Celt, you got something like the Dula, which is basically the headless horseman. It could be, Halloween night. It could be a Halloween night themed game or a Halloween themed anthology game, and the town is being terrorized by like a puka and the Dula and a banshee, and somewhere something along the lines of you've seen the movie Trick or Treat where they run through like the four different stories, but they all are happening at the same time. I think that would be a fantastic concept for a game.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's a great movie, so yeah, that would be fun for video game to have intersection of storylines, with the
That
gods.
would that would be interesting to see. Good general ideas for games. Burying the lead on what type of video game and mythology that doesn't exist now that you'd like to see made, which is our third question. But Jamie Owls, do you have an existing game franchise you'd like to see explore mythology, and which mythology in particular?
Um, Simbu and Storm had like really good ideas, and Hardicus did too. I really like to see maybe more of like Uncharted or even Tomb Raider. Um, do something along the lines like of a Nordic type of mythology or even Egyptian. I really love Egypt, like anything that has to do with Egypt, learning about, the gods and goddesses out there. I think that would be like really cool and also just, educational because there's a whole bunch of like mythologies that a lot of people don't know about, and I find it like really interesting to explore down that road and to introduce that to like people who are playing a video game.
That's cool. I think we kind of talked about this on another like a earlier podcast and whatnot, but um, kind of echoing what you guys are saying with stuff like the Dark Pictures anthology. Let's have those, especially even stuff like Until Dawn. I know that the Wendigo is not. Well, I guess that's part of Native American
Hmm.
types of mythology. So why not have a game like Until Dawn, but it feature like Hindi mythology, like where it has stuff like the Rakshasa or it even features some of the gods and everything like that, like Shiva and whatnot. More than just where it's um in an Indiana Jones movie. How about an actual series of games? Because I feel like Greek mythology is so done and overdone. Norse mythology is kind of getting that way now. Even Japanese, well, the Japanese culture stuff is starting to get a little overdone. They haven't really touched on the mythology as much. We should do more. I would love to see more games with the Hindi mythology, and specifically, I'd like to see that with horror games because you
Hmm.
could get some really, really scary stuff with some of these creatures and like a lot of human mythology. Uh, like Greek mythology is pretty fucked up. And if there's anything about humans, humans are fucked up. All the mythologies. And that being said, some of the crazy shit that you see with like Hindi mythology, that would be really great to have in a video game. Even if it was something like Hades 3 and it was something completely out of Hades and it was something like it was started a new series called Shiva or something. But yeah, that'd be cool. My next question, like I said, was what type of video game in mythology that doesn't exist now you'd like to see made? Um, besides the Hindi again, let's sort of stick with the Middle Eastern type, like what Simbu said with the House of Asses, dealing with the Middle Eastern. I would like to see more Middle Eastern stuff. And just sort of get that experience. I know, well, I don't know this for certain because I haven't played a lot of the games like Prince of Persia. I don't know how much that series has delved into a lot of the Middle Eastern mythos, and if we can avoid all the stuff. Um, when I mean Middle Eastern, I mean like the Mesopotamian area, not just Egypt, because Egypt really, again, heavy hand with stuff. Like okay, I can't even think of any of the names, Anubis and everything like that. If we could stick with some of the old gods, the Mesopotamian ones, thinking of like even Ghostbusters. Shoot, they had some of those old
Gozer.
stuff. Yeah,
Those are the Gozerian.
and where they were the Hittites, and let's pull some of that, and more than just like Ghostbusters games pulling from the well and always going back to that. Um, Astrimedes, what about you? What type of video game and mythology that doesn't exist now that you'd like to see made? You're muted.
Yep,
There you
I
go.
I like what you just mentioned about ancient stuff. It made me think ancient Sumerian stuff. There's a reason that like Ghostbusters likes to reference it, you know. It does seem like it. There's some pretty horrific real life historical stories about how the Sumerians were and everything. So I can only imagine getting into that mythology would be pretty interesting. The first thing that came to mind though is African mythology. I'm failing to remember it, but I want to say I've actually played some random indie roguelike game a million years ago that had some elements of like African mythology in it. And I just remember my reaction being like, it's neat to see a mythology included that is not one of the overplayed kind of standard mythologies. You know, there's different, Africa's obviously a big place. There's different sets of mythologies, kind of different parts of Africa and stuff. And just, you know, not being the typical kind of Western or Eastern focused on sort of set of mythologies. You don't see it shown in a lot of media, particularly, you know, in the countries most of us and our listeners, watchers are probably from.
Nice. Yeah, I would definitely like to see that. Simbu, did you have any other examples of this? I want to make sure that I've
Oh, I
got.
do. Oh, I do. That wasn't that was that earlier. That had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, definitely hit us with what you got because I'm really curious of your thoughts on that.
So I like what you got. What the two of you have already said. There are two things that come to mind. One of them came to me from the idea. It came to me as an idea after watching like the Destination X show. where they go out and hunt the cryptids. Like, how about a game like that? Something that's similar to the Phasmophobia game, but instead of hunting ghosts, like you're out hunting cryptids. It's almost like in Indiana Jones, but cryptid hunting instead.
Like an SCP game, except not terrible.
There you go.
And
But
oh,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Simbu. Sorry about that.
No, but it would be something like that. Like, but again, in a sense of like Phasmophobia, where you have all the tools and things like that. Like, you go out and you set them up. Like, you have to use all the different tools. So, like, in a way, it's also a bit educational because you learn about like EMF detectors, and you learn about parabolic microphones, and you learn about digital recorders and different like tremor detections and stuff like that. Like, you can learn about different things and whatnot at the same time while being entertaining, because you're running around, you know, the Pine Barrens looking for the Jersey Devil. You're running around, Mason County, West Virginia, looking for the Mothman. You're somewhere in the Appalachian Mountains looking for Bigfoot. I mean, it would be a way to be educational, but also entertaining at the same time. Now, Fox, you had something to say before I go on?
I think sort of made me think of like a Monster Hunter game, but not based with made up creatures. This is a really good idea. Like the way that you're talking about, like this, like I think that's a really fantastic idea.
And the thing is that it's almost could be done like a live service game too,
Because
where
you
you
could keep
start off
adding to it.
right. You start off with like the main 10, like the big, like some of the big 10, and then you could go into like the Onryo from Japanese culture. You could go into the Jinns of the Middle East. You could go into um, God, I can't think of them from India. Crap,
Oh,
not the boot. Go
no,
ahead.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, but and like you can go into all these other different, mythological creatures too, to try and hunt these things that are, they're cryptids, but like they still are legitimate, things. And again, you could run it like a live service game. You could keep adding new seasons, new characters, new locations, things like that. And it could just be fun, but fun, slightly again educational, because you learn about the lore about these different things, like they do kind of with Phasmophobia and the different types of spirits that you are hunting. They have little synopsises of what they are, what they can do, what their powers are, and things like that. Um, Anyone want to comment on that one before I move on to my second, real quick?
No,
No?
go for it.
Okay. I just want to give everybody a chance to talk about that one, because the second one is straight out of Goonies. Give us a game where we are
Yeah.
hunting down the something like what's that one that just came out, where you're all like you're all kids, and you're like in the backyard, and you're playing, what game is that? But it's like a base builder kind of thing, like tower defense game.
Ooh,
Um, but give us something like that. Give us something similar to that. Like, instead of being an adult, like trying to go at, like, put it in the eyes of a kid. Put us all back as kids. When we're in bed and we're scared of the boogeyman. We're scared of the monster under the bed. You
hmm.
know, Kind of like a cross between, like a Goonies slash It kind of game, where, like, as a kid, you're going out and you're trying to find these different, things that terrified you when you were, that terrify you, what lurks under the bridge, the troll under the bridge kind of, thing,
Hmm. That's
not
cool.
as fleshed out as my other one, but,
No,
somebody out there smart enough to figure it out.
yeah, it's cool, and there could be a twist halfway through where it sort of becomes like the movie It, where the thing you were hunting, you think you were pretending, but everything has been very real, and it's going to kill you. And if it kills you, you lose all your progress, including your save, and you have to start your life all over again or something. That almost sounds like a game Astrimedes that you would play.
Sounds like a Stephen King story with more mythology and less sex.
Yes,
A
thankfully.
lot less sex.
And the idea, Simbu, that you mentioned is the first one that you mentioned is so good. While we were talking, I plugged it into Chat GPT, and it says if you're thinking of blending a game with Monster Hunter like mechanics with real life cryptids, that might be an untapped idea. And it couldn't find a single game that matched exactly what you said. So there you go. Um,
First of all, I don't trust its conclusion. And second of all, now you've given the idea to OpenAI, so congratulations.
Hey, I am feeding the beast. I'm training it.
That's our
And
job here, making that content. Hear that AI?
yep,
Words, words, words. People talk like this.
yes, we do. Do we do? And it's all going to China anyway. So it's a well feeding a well feeding a well. Um, Hardicus, any type of video game in mythology doesn't exist now you'd like to see made?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some more like the Hinduism stuff with like Kali, Shiva, Ganesh, stuff like that. And I mean, I'm biased. I love RPGs, so I think a RPG of characters like that, um, you know, we've seen games like that where, overpowered character gets set back to level one. So I think having, a journey or quest for them to regain their powers would be kind of an interesting and fun thing. I would play it.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I would love to have some sort of JRPG based on like the Hindu mythologies. I think that'd be great. Beyond teases from Persona or names being shared in Final Fantasy. I mean, if we could do that, it'd be great.
Or even like a tactical RPG too, just, fighting, if some god goes rogue and creates an army of whatever, having a tactical RPG with a more in-depth storyline, like Final Fantasy Tactics and Fire Emblem style kind of game. I think that'd be fun too.
Definitely. Jamie Ells, how about you? Is there a type of video game in mythology doesn't exist now that you'd like to see made?
Yeah, I think it would be really cool to see like the Hindu, as Hillbilly Hardika said, and also any like more Egyptian, like maybe a story about like Isis or Horus. But honestly, what I would really love to see, for those who don't know, I really love anything about witches. I think it'd be really cool to have like a game where it's about Circe or Hecate, where you play as those characters and their stories, or just like in general, just have more like honestly female-led characters. That would be something I would be really looking forward to.
That's cool. Yeah, there would be a market for that because there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of those who have good be good adventure style games with some really interesting progression, and there's a lot of stories and mythology for those types of characters. Um, Storm, wrap us up. What type of video game mythology doesn't exist now that you'd like to see made?
I would really like to see Simbu's first idea come to fruition. That would be awesome. But going off of Jamie Owls, I too would like an adventure game where you are playing as the god. Maybe you got sent
Mm-hmm.
back to Earth or something. You got sent back to the mortal plane where you're immortal and you have to do all these quests in order to get your powers back or in order to get back on Olympus or, all I can think of right now is Olympus. I don't, whatever. I would like to see other mythologies used,
Mm-hmm.
but
Hercules,
um,
Hercules, Hercules.
yeah, it'd be great. Or, or have the island as Circe and you have to, battle people off of that, or like she has to try to get her island back or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. Just to, you know, it would be more. a lot of fun to play as the gods instead of, a lot of games you're battling the gods and
Yeah.
goddesses. So it would be a different spin if we could actually control those goddesses or gods and, take on mortal issues or mortal fighters and whatnot, and
Mm-hmm.
or like the giants are enemies of the gods, so like battling the giants and the cyclops and whatnot. So that would be neat to see if they did that, to make a game where you are the god and you have to do X number of things to get your powers back to,
I
fully
could
take on your seat again.
Yeah, I could see that turn out really well because you could even have a whole rationale that the story is all based on the fact that it's all the events, the Giants uprising, all this stuff is all based on the Titans that Zeus and his brothers and sisters had cast out and castigated, uh, going behind the scenes to disrupt everything so that they then can come and try and take over for their kids that they had been subdued by. So yeah, that could be really interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing that. And of course, let us know in the comment section below if you're watching slash listening on YouTube, what you'd like to see myth-wise in your favorite mythological games. But yeah, some really interesting discussion here on a lot of different myths. Um, Really interested to see how these are all going to be portrayed in the future because I really like how the different a lot of these games are and how they all play and everything. But yeah, just a quick housekeeping note. We will be out next week. No Inferno cast next week, but we're going to return strong as ever in 2 weeks. So make sure that you catch us and check us there. But parting shots.
Mythology is awesome for stories of any kind. As someone who's been running a 20-year Dungeons and Dragons game and hanging a bunch of that on mythology, I've done a ton of research into mythology. It's a great topic for games, and mythology to me is really just kind of stories when you break it all down.
The reason why Greek mythology is so overused in video games as well as Norse getting there is because anybody who's even dabbled in any of them know how gluttonous, lustful, slothful, how many of the seven deadly sins from Christian mythology are just blatantly encompassed by the gods of Greek and Norse mythology. I mean,
And what's funny is all the other mythologies, from the Hindi to the Japanese, like Shinto and everything, they all have that. Like I mentioned, all of these human mythologies, humans are pretty fucked up, and we write that way. And so all of these myths have that. So
they do.
it's not just exclusive to Greek. It's just Greek just tends to get the biggest amount of attention because it's just I think it's simply it's just that well known. It's taught in schools that often.
I tried reading that book Circe, I think last year, and that was like typically my first time dabbling into like the whole Greek mythology. And I'm just thinking, damn, her family is fudged up.
Yeah.
Very
Oh, yeah.
dysfunctional.
Hmm.
Oh God, it is.
Well, and part of the the thing is part of the reason why the Greek mythology is so widely known and taught in like history and stuff like that is because of how many philosophers came from Greece. How
Yeah.
much of modern day, theories and stuff that we use in a daily life come from Plato and Socrates and you know the ancient Greek philosophers.
I think there's a lot of counter argument to that where those that win the wars are the ones that write the history, and that's why the Greeks and whatnot have that because the Greek mythologies became the Roman mythologies, and the Roman mythologies led to other mythologies like Judaism and Christianity. One of the uh, Greek gods, which became a Roman god, Dionysus, the god of bitchin' parties, and wine. He was born on a certain day, December 25th, and that was co-opted by Christianity to become the birth date of Christ, which became Christmas. So it's just in a lot of ways it all just kind of feeds into one another, especially
Mhm.
when we, as all of us in a somewhat similar-ish uh, looking hereditary background, have that history. It's a lot different in other parts of the globe. I could mention something about Confucius, but I'd be talking out of my ass, saying talking about stuff that I don't know have enough knowledge about. That being a lot of the Chinese and Japanese philosophies and mythologies. But it's interesting. And if we have if we have piqued your interest with this, check this stuff out online. Make sure to go to your local municipality, register for a library card. You should always go to your, if you live somewhere, you have it as your home base, register for a library card. All the stuff is there, either physically or digitally, for free there, at least for now. And just helps with the whole funding thing for these institutes of education, which are, as time's going on, very quickly becoming that much more important. But I am Fox. This has been the Inferno cast. Huge, huge, huge thank you to everybody here, especially Simbu, for suggesting the mythology topic. Great topic. And again, make sure to catch Simbu on his Sunday evening streaming, 7 p.m. Central, of WWE 2K24 Scurry Face on Twitch. Simbu, are you guys moving to WWE 2K25?
Well, eventually, but not right away, because well, me and my co-creator for that are, well, we're poor, so these games be expensive.
You're not kidding. $70 to start, and they might be going to 80 or 100 sometime soon.
Oh,
If
it's
GTA.
for the 2K for the 2K game for 24, it was instant $100, so we could unlock everything day one. All the bonus like characters that you have to unlock by playing through the game and whatnot. We're like, screw it, we'll spend the extra 30, get the season pass, and get all the characters right now, so that because whatever version he gets, I have to get the same one. Whatever version I get, he has to get the same one, because if he doesn't have the boogeyman and my character's pants are the boogeyman's pants,
Oh
he can't
yeah.
download my character to do for what he needs to do. So we have to get the exact same version. So it's going to be the $100 version, but eventually we are going to get there, because intergender matches are returning. Yay! We can finally have the SFWF be what it always has. We've always wanted it to be, and that would be all the reps can fight all the reps. Guy, girl, it doesn't matter. We can all beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah, and that will be a sight to see. So again, make sure, guys, you check out Simbu Scurryface channel on Twitch. Link in the description below. His live cast at 7 p.m. Central of WWE 2K24. But thank you guys for joining us, and we hope you have a great and mythological day.